I start the recording on my side. You want to start the recording on your side too,
I've already
co-host?
started it, believe it or not.
You have. You're ahead of the game.
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so we're officially like a minute past according to my clock. How about you?
Yep, a minute passed, and I'll just Robert and everybody. I'm a bit cocky today, just because I feel a lot better than last week. I was like I was blowing my nose every 2 seconds, coughing, couldn't even keep my breath last week, and now I just have this slight little cough that you guys won't even be able to hear. So um, I'm feeling back to my old self again. I'm back, baby.
Well, that's good. So that means you're going to talk a lot. Is that what you're saying?
That's it, man.
All right. So,
I might interrupt you at any moment.
okay, you're welcome to do that. So we'll get started now. Today's topic is what I call socializing reputation management. Now, many of you probably know that um, SEO, as we are familiar with it in the past, is changing. Social media is having a greater and greater impact on the way things are found online, even the way people are making decisions related to purchases online. That's one of the reasons that review management and reputation management have become important because a significant percentage, I forget how many you said on your last presentation, Costas, but a significant percentage of people um, look for reviews or look for feedback from other people online before purchasing something or even eating at a restaurant. They're really looking for validation that they're making the right decision, right? None of us want to go spend $50 or $100 or whatever amount on a meal and have a terrible experience. So here's kind of what the deal is for us today. We're going to talk about what are you seeing on my screen? Okay, you got the overview. All right. So we're going to talk about
I
what.
see your overview screen.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about reputation SEO. This is not specifically a conversation about review management, which is a different process, right? Collecting reviews and posting them to review sites is different than trying to get the customer's website to rank highly for their own company name or an individual's name, like Robert Stanley or Costas Pepis to have our websites rank for our own names, which can be important for CEOs and executives, right? So we're going to talk about some of the social media factors and then some enhanced opportunities for you if you're doing reputation management. What does that mean? Ways you can make more money and charge for more services. So, what is reputation SEO? Well, I think you know this, but it's basically the top 10 ranking issues. And some of the things that come up quite often can be local news. So if a business you're dealing with gets bad press coverage or even good press coverage, you might leverage that to your advantage. Lawsuits, very common for people's businesses to be sued and things like that, and that to show up on the searches. Review sites like Yelp, and then of course my favorites, the ripoff reports and complaint boards, etc. In fact, we had somebody email us and asking, "Hey, how can I push this ripoff report stuff down? I have a customer who's being plagued by the ripoff report website," and those are quite frankly tough to outrank. And in my own experience, as of February 24th, Google has made some additional changes. Just looking at some of my client sites, so social sites in the new Panda world it have it are really important. Okay, first of all, they have massive authority. Um, One of the things that's causing sites to rank or not rank has to do with how authoritative they are. In other words, have they been around a long time? Do they have a lot of backlinks? Do they have a lot of pages? Well, any social media site like YouTube or Twitter has massive authority. For a viewer, a person that is searching the web, it's a tremendous amount of credibility. Let's face it, if you go to Facebook and you read a review about a business or you read information about a business, it's going to have more street cred than if you just go find some haphazard blog post. It creates the opportunity for potential lead generation for the business, right? So, assuming that the social media property is set up appropriately and it has the ability for a visitor to either call them or fill out a web form or get a coupon, it does create opportunity for the business to actually make money for it. And this is important for you, okay? So, one of the things you need to learn how to do, write this down, okay? Write this sentence down. Are you paying attention? Write this down. Convert reputation leads into bigger dollars. Convert to bigger dollars. And so a lot of reputation clients you might start out at $200 or $300 a month, $500 a month, something low. But if you want to charge thousands, 3,000, 5,000, 6,000, $10,000 a month, whatever, you do want to have social media part of your portfolio. Okay. The other thing is that,
Robert,
yes,
I'm sorry.
go
I just
ahead.
got to piggyback off what you said and emphasize it for everybody because I think that is something that you and I have been screaming from the rooftops every presentation that we do. And I want to make sure that everybody gets it because I know most of you guys should get it actually because this is not your first webinar with us together. But what Robert just said is pure gold. For those of you who know that, Robert and I have partnered together on rep management clients, and I've been doing it for a long time. Robert's been doing it for a long time. The key here is to use reputation management as a front end so that that's the hook that you get your clients on. But then look at what Robert is saying right now. Social goes hand in hand with it. And also, it's one of the ways that you can bump your client, you can bump your $500, $1,000 client to way, way, way more and make multiples of that. And that's exactly how to do it, is to use this concept that Robert is talking about here. So just make sure you pay attention.
Thank you, Costas. And finally, not only are these possible lead generators for your business, but they are also easily ranked. Oftentimes, Facebook profiles and LinkedIn profiles will show up in the top 10 without you having to do any kind of optimization whatsoever. So the top sites are, and I'm sure you know what they are, but I'm just going to list them for you in case you're new: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, now Pinterest. I've actually had some really great success with ranking Pinterest profiles. So it could be like Pinterest slash business name. LinkedIn, not only LinkedIn for the business itself, but for the individual, the CEO, the owner, your name, whatever. And then Google Plus. Now, most of you are probably aware that Google Plus profiles are some weird number. So really what's going to give you the greatest opportunity to rank and what people are seeing traction with is Google Plus posts. So when you post something to your profile, that'll actually rank in Google. So the profiles are useful. They're good for authority and just generally you need them. But the posts are really going to give you like link juice to your other sites and also potential ranking opportunities. Here are a few other sites that I've had success with that I recommend you write these down. One of them is SlideShare. Amazingly, SlideShare does really well. It's pretty easy to take. I'll tell you how you can make a SlideShare site really quick. You go to slideshare.com, set up an account, then go to your customer's website or your website or whatever and copy their About Us page or their contact, kind of their business profile information. Put it into a Word document or to a Google Doc, save it as a PDF and upload it to SlideShare. Voila, you now have a ranking SlideShare profile for the business. Very, very simple. Blog Talk Radio. Um, Blog Talk Radio, you can rank the profiles, but you can also rank the actual audio interviews and stuff. One of the things that I've done in the past is actually get on Skype, and there's a free recording services are not free recording. There's paid recording add-ons to Skype. If you have Skype, you can record a conversation with somebody. So you can just get on Skype, call the business owner, ask them 4 or 5 questions, take that audio, upload it to Blog Talk Radio, get it transcribed, use it, etc. But Blog Talk Radio is good. It's almost like YouTube in a sense. And then another one is Wiki Answers and Yahoo Answers. Now, what I do with those two is I kind of game the system a little bit. I have 2 profiles. I have one that's my personal profile, and I have one that's kind of like this arbitrary pen name type thing. The pen name will go in and ask the questions, and then I personally will go in and answer them. And if nobody else answers those questions, Wiki Answers and Yahoo Answers picks those as the best answer, and then suddenly they rank. I'll give you an example of what I've done. So using Blog Talk Radio as an example, I'll go and post a question into Wiki Answers and say, has anybody found that interview with, Bob's Fried Chicken in Tallahassee? And then I'll go back and answer it and I'll say, yes, the interview is right here on Blog Talk Radio / blah, blah, blah. And so now actually the Wiki Answers post will rank for the company name, typically without any help, and it'll actually pass authority or juice to the Blog Talk Radio. You can do the same thing with SlideShare, like, does anybody have any information on this business name? You can answer it yes, and then put in the link to the SlideShare. And with the new Google Panda updates, this is important. I've been doing a lot of research on this. Linking is no longer the same. So you can literally put in the URL, even though it's not a hyperlink, and Google will now find that. Um, and they actually prefer that the link not be a keyword targeted link. It just be the naked, what they call a naked link, which is the link to the website. So instead of putting in, Bob's Fried Chicken as the link name, it's just bobsfriedchicken.com. One of the things that we talked about in the rep scanner training is what we call managed sites. So like targetkeyword.org and targetkeyword.com. For example, one of my clients that we used in the case study was Scottsdale Art Factory. So we created like Scottsdale Art Factory Reviews.org or Scottsdale Art Factory Reviews.com. Those sites will typically rank on their own. I'm going to give you some instruction here a little bit later on where I tell you what to do and what not to do with those sites. It's important that you heed my warnings as it relates to optimization. The other thing that you can use is targetkeyword.com/keyword longtail. So for example, if the target keyword is um, Billy Bob's Chicken, so you do like billybobschicken.org/Billy Bob's Chicken reviews as a long tail. So you make it a page, like a sub page. And those will actually frequently outrank the root domain. It's really interesting how that works. So Google seems to be placing more emphasis on the pages rather than the actual root domain, particularly when it comes to these longer keywords and this reputation management type strategy. So this is probably obvious for a lot of you, but from a profile strategy perspective, this is kind of what you're looking at. So like facebook.com/target keyword. I'll give you an example. You might actually do 2 or 3 facebook.com target keywords. So what that means is you got to create 2 or 3 different Facebook pages for the business, and I'll show you how to do that at a high level here in just a minute. Typically, at a minimum, you're going to want facebook.com, pinterest.com, Twitter, all these /business name. Now, here's where the opportunity comes in for you to make extra money. Many businesses, or not many, a percentage of businesses already have a business page, right? They have facebook.com/Billy Bob's Chicken, but they don't have Pinterest, they don't have Twitter, they may or may not have LinkedIn. It's an opportunity for you to actually, instead of just doing it as part of the reputation management, is saying, look, this will help your reputation and this is what it costs to get this done, because this is really social media management in combination with rep management, and that's a different service. That's something that we do for our bigger customers. That's something we charge more for. Okay, and you really should charge for it because now you're talking about creating accounts. Now, to rank these social sites, one of the fastest ways to do it is social bookmarks. In some cases, Facebook likes or Google Plus likes. I guess they call them Google Pluses. I don't know. Shares on other social websites and then retweets. So, if you post something into a Facebook page and it's a link of some sort and it gets reshared out, that actually counts. If it gets retweeted out, these types of activities are what I refer to and many people refer to as social signals. So we have social bookmarks and social signals, and then we have the classic backlinks. Now, this is not, trying to rank for how to lose weight, right? We're not in a very competitive market. So you want to keep the links very small, 1 to 5 links. And in some cases, you don't want to link to certain things. So for example, I actually don't build any backlinks other than putting stuff in the profile to my managed sites. So I don't go out and hire some SEO guy to run a bunch of backlinks to, companyname-reviews.org. Just don't do that. If you're going to build the links, you can do 1 to 5 links, and you can do that just by putting the URL into that SlideShare or other places, YouTube videos and things like that. So to pass the link juice, what you have is like your targets, right? So you have your primary targets in my world. What I prefer to target are social profiles. So I want the facebook.com/company and the pinterest.com/company and those types of sites to rank, if I can, in the top 10 above Yelp and other properties. Why? Because I can control what's on there, right? So you want those to be the primaries. Secondary to that would be your managed sites. I actually don't use the managed sites primarily for ranking. They will rank and they will show up, but you don't want to focus on that, because what will happen is if you do give too much attention to it, Google can kind of tell that it's manufactured. They know you made the site and it matches and whatever. And if you give them too much attention, they'll actually fall off the face of the earth. So it says like to profiles, but it should say link to profiles. And I'll give you an example of that here in a minute. So excuse the typo. It's linked to profiles, because this adds validity to the site. Think about it. If you created your own website, or you created a website for your business and then you had all your social sites set up, don't you typically put links to the social sites in your website? Absolutely you do. So that looks natural. That looks normal. Um, for your managed sites and your social profile targets, you're going to do links, likes, and bookmarks. We'll talk about that here right now. So to boost your sites, what I recommend you do is do not do links to your sites. Remember, we talked about managed sites. So it's keyword.com or keyword.org. That's what I'm talking about when I mention site 1, 2, and 3. All right. Um, so what you're going to do is just go get social bookmarks, which are treated differently than quote unquote backlinks. In the traditional SEO world, a backlink was where you actually had a target keyword that was hyperlinked to a website. And then these sites are going to kind of pass juice secondarily to the social profiles. So you have social profile 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6. Remember I mentioned the 6 different social sites: LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Google Plus, and Twitter. Those are the 6. So I'm splitting it up. So if I create 3 sites, I put 2, 2, and 2. Or if you had 2 sites, you could put 3 and 3. But I don't put them all on the same one, on the same sites, because it just kind of spreads it around a little bit. An easy way to get those social bookmarks is just to go to Fiverr and just do a search for social bookmarking or social bookmarks. And then if you can find people that do manual submissions, you'll see at the top one listed here. He says, I will do social bookmarking submissions manually to 200 sites. That's better than using automated tools for some reason. I don't know exactly why. I guess they can't figure that out.
Hey, Robert, can we pause for 1 second because there's some people that are having some questions about what you're doing,
Sure.
about what you're mentioning here.
Okay, no worries.
Um, so Karen, I want you to clarify what you mentioned because I want to make sure that you're okay. Karen's been just popping in, just commenting on everything, and she has a question about this. So Karen, go ahead and phrase your question, please. Sherry says if it's spammy, it's automated. And Sherry says that you can get penalized on your search engine rankings if you automate those types of submissions.
Exactly. Um, Used to be you could actually use spammy links to your social profiles and stuff, and they would rank. And what I've witnessed in the last 30 days is that that's not the case. Even running spammy links to facebook.com/company name actually doesn't benefit you.
Yeah. And then, okay, so the manual, so like Robert clarified a minute ago, manually is key here. And then for Karen, can you go back just one slide, Robert?
Um,
And Carly, we are recording, so we're recording this. So with any luck, you guys, you'll be able to get the recording here. Okay, so Karen, what was your question about this slide?
so I downloaded a little drawing program so I can do some whiteboarding if necessary as well, because sometimes that helps people.
Oh, that's pretty cool, Robert.
Well, let's
Okay, so this is an invitation for Karen.
Yeah, so we'll move forward, and then when she comes back to her question, we can
We'll
go
pop back to
backwards.
this. Okay.
So the other factor that we would use is social signals. Now, remember we talked about this. So these are likes. So it's Google Pluses, Facebook likes, tweets and retweets. You can do those for your different your managed sites. So you've created these sites. Now, one of the things that I've been experimenting with, and I will share with you guys at some point, for the site 1, site 2, and site 3, is actually using Blogspot. So free sites. So Blogger, WordPress, blog.com, sites like that. I'm testing those right now in place of actually doing, like, my own WordPress site and doing, companyname.org and that whole thing. So I suspect that they'll actually work better using something like Blogger, because it's Blogger, for example, is hosted by Google. It's their own platform. They may actually give it some preference. I don't know that the spiders can tell the difference between a Blogger blog and or no, I think they can tell the difference between a Blogger blog and one that you just set up and give it some additional authority. So for social signals, you can just also go to Fiverr and just type in social signals. Now, um, they don't have to be manual necessarily, but it's a good idea to find somebody who will do a small number. You don't need a million social signals. So, a lot of these guys on Fiverr, so you have to look through here. A lot of them will give you like 1,000, a million. You don't need that many. You only need what kind of is normal for a local environment. So local marketing, local companies, they're only going to get 10, 20, 30, 40, no more than 100. Ideally, if you can, and it's offered through one of the folks on Fiverr, you want to get them geographically targeted. So you don't want to get a bunch of Google or Facebook likes and Google pluses from, overseas somewhere when the company that you're representing or you're working with is in the United States. You want to try and keep them at least in the US, and even better would be if you could do it in the actual same state. Now, being able to do that is kind of like asking clients to post reviews. You could potentially help the business incorporate that into the reputation management process, which is getting patrons and their actual customers to do these likes and Google Pluses, incentivizing them. And that is really more of a larger marketing strategy. And that is really where you can make more money. So here's an example of what I was talking about. So this is a managed site. This is the Scottsdale Art Factory site. This is the exact case study client that we talked about in the Rep Scanner training. Okay, so if you don't recall this, you can go back and watch the Rep Scanner training. This is the site that was set up for them. I created inside of WordPress, there's this thing called blog roll, it's listed under the dashboard. It's called links. You can put in links to the social profiles you created. So in this case, they've got a link to Houzz, Houzz. This is actually a social site for sharing pictures from, fancy houses. These guys do custom design stuff for homes. Um, their Pinterest profile and then their SlideShare profile. Now you'll notice I didn't just say Houzz or Pinterest or SlideShare. I said I made it kind of a longer tail link there. It's Art Factory featured on Houzz. On the Google Plus and the like, I have the ability. I've put the buttons in there for people to, or for me to automate and add that. I haven't added that yet because I'm actually waiting to see what's happening as it is. In fact, right now, if you type in Scottsdale Art Factory, I believe Scottsdale Art Factory Reviews.org shows up in the top 5 or 6 or something, and I haven't done anything with it. So sometimes you don't have to do anything. Sometimes it's better to wait. Sometimes it'll rank just based on the content that's on the site and the links that you're linking outward to, right? Because it's set, if you're Google and you look at this, you're like, wow, okay, this is a site that's linking to other Art Factory social media platforms that are authoritative. Therefore, this must belong to them, right? Because that's very much like what an actual business would do. They probably wouldn't have a lot of likes or Google Pluses. They may or may not have links out to their social sites. So this is kind of replicating what happens in reality. Okay. Now for the social profiles, this is kind of the missing link for a lot of people. Some people forget to have mostly completed profiles, so and this actually happens in local business space anyway. They set up a Facebook fan page and they do nothing with it. They don't have a profile image, they don't have a description, they don't have any photos, they got nothing. So it really looks like an empty property. It's like an empty lot on the nice neighborhood. It's got no house on it. Nobody's chopped the weeds. I mean, you really want it mostly completed. You'd like to make it somewhat active looking. A really perfect social profile is one that is filled out with pictures and is being used on a daily basis. So somewhere between empty lot with weeds growing in it and a house being built versus a house being occupied with kids running around the front yard, those are the kind of the different stages. You want to get as far over towards an active profile as possible. The problem with that is that some businesses and even you yourself won't have the time or the money or the energy to make that happen. and then having, somewhat targeted keywords as it relates to the actual profile themselves. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if you go to facebook.com/username, if you have a Facebook fan page set up, so um, you have to actually set up a fan page first, and then it'll let you pick it. So you'll see here where the arrow is, it says the page name, which I created for this demonstration, is Robert Stanley Marketing. So that page existed, but facebook.com/Robert Stanley Marketing doesn't exist until you go to this URL, facebook.com/username. So what you do is you create a page, and then you go to facebook.com/username, and then assign the name. It's almost like buying a domain name. You assign the username to the page. So what I did is I did that, and then now I had facebook.com/Robert Stanley Marketing. So if you went to facebook.com/Robert Stanley Marketing, this is what you would see. It's an empty profile. So having the profile is one thing, but having a profile with pictures and activity is another. Um, so in some cases, the empty profile, if Google has nothing better to do, will actually rank it. But in this case, you can go there and you'll see it's obvious that there's nothing going on here. There's no likes, there's no comments, there's no photos, there's nothing. So again, this is my analogy of the house and the empty lot with weeds growing on the ground. In this case, we've put the foundation down, but there's no walls, there's no roof, right? So you kind of need to take the next step. So you're going to want to add pictures. Even if you're going to get like stock photography or just take pictures from the business's website. Now keep in mind, this is totally up to you. You can charge extra for this. I typically do charge extra for social media assistance. You can get likes and friends. You can either buy those or you can work with them on their email marketing, regular marketing campaigns to actually do this organically. And you want profile information, all the fields about the business, the about us section, the info, contacts, the photos, descriptions, etc. You want most of that filled out. So a completed profile that's, 80, 90% completed is what you want. So remember, anytime that you bring value to someone, anytime you bring value to business, so this is valuable, this is a valuable service. And so value equals dollars. So when you bring in the value to people, you should be getting paid for it. And the businesses really do need social help. In fact, most businesses want to do something with social, but they don't know what to do. And social really does equal SEO. Anymore, the lines are becoming blurred between search optimization and social media. Basically, what you're looking at now is you have to have social media activity that is oriented around the search results that you'd like to be known for. So, in other words, you don't specifically target keywords anymore. You just kind of talk around those talking points in a social environment and discuss, fried chicken in our earlier example, and then you'll get found out by Google. And then remember, social equals trust. So you and I both probably trust a social interaction on a fan page more than we do anything else. Um, let's see. And as a result, social equals money. Remember, because value equals dollars. So the fact that this has the ability to bring SEO rankings to your clients, as well as build trust with their prospects, means that it has more value for them from a business perspective, and is going to create the opportunity for you to generate more money. Now, for those of you that are thinking, yeah, okay, well, how much money? I'm going to show you a screenshot from my FreshBooks account that's from one of my newer clients. They've only been with me 7 months, and this is a customer who is almost entirely social media oriented. We do a little bit of content creation for their website and things like that, but in 7 months, we've built out $33,000 from this client. So from August to February 25th was the last time they paid. So they're paying us $3,697 a month. So this is important. Social media, again, has a higher perceived value from clients. They'll pay more for it. So what do you charge? Well, this is what we charge when we set up the profiles and we add all the images and the graphics, the profile graphics. We'll charge anywhere from $9.97 to $19.97. In some cases, I'll go lower than the 997, but I always ask for a referral. What I do is I give them what I call a referral discount. And this is a tip for you. You should probably write this down. Write down, never give discounts. Give referral discounts. And here's why. Because you don't want to be a salesperson, right? You don't want to be in the job of selling things. So what you do when you talk to somebody and you offer them a service, and you're like, hey, this is $1,000 service, but because I'm just getting started, I'm going to give you a referral discount. And so all you have to do is try to give me 3 referrals, and I'll give you $300 off, and this will be $697 instead of $997. I've done that countless times. It works brilliantly. The other thing that you can charge for in the social side of things, and again, hopefully you're understanding the connection between reputation management and social media setup is that it's a transition point. You can go from, hey, you have a bad online review to, okay, we've got to fix all this stuff, and we need to get you set up socially, and we need to do your social media management. It's not that hard to make that transition if you kind of explain it the way I've talked about today. And so that can be anywhere from $500 to $5,000 a month, just depending upon what you're doing, how big the client is, and stuff like that. So in review, basically what you want to do is you want to create profiles for the businesses, right? And in some cases, if you're going to create kind of an empty house, so to speak, maybe you're just going to include it with your current offering. But if you're going to build a really nice social platform for them and help them get set up socially, you definitely want to charge for it. Then you're going to want to connect the managed websites. And then you're going to boost those with signals and social signals and bookmarks. And then as part of this process, you want to upsell the social setup. So you want to have a conversation about the social media setup. So what I'm going to do, Costas, I don't know if you have more questions, but I'm going to do a quick illustrated drawing here, and I'm going to try and do the best I can, folks. I'm doing this with a mouse. I'm not very good at controlling the mouse for a drawing, so
Awesome. Yeah, we do have some questions, Robert.
okay.
But I feel like I'm going to distract you from your beautiful diagram if I ask you them now.
No, no, you're fine. Go ahead. Just ask them because I'll probably just incorporate them into my beautiful piece of artwork that I'm about to create here.
All right, so go ahead, guys, and ask any questions right now that you guys have had. I know you've asked them, even if you've asked them before, we've had a lot of chat questions come through this chat box, and I just want to make sure that I don't miss them. So, okay, so we've got some people asking to go back to some certain slides, which obviously Robert can't do since he's diagramming live. He's doing a live Pictionary type drawing right on his screen, which is extremely impressive to me. So I think it would be humanly impossible to ask him to switch to PowerPoint at the same time, but we will do that for you, Patty. I know Karen also had a question, a clarification question about that slide that I asked you to go back to earlier about how the different Site A, Site B, Site C, how they go together.
Yeah, so this is what I'm going to illustrate. I figured that's where we were headed with our questions. So um,
Great.
basically, we're going to create a relationship between our managed site and our social profiles. Now, I put facebook.com/company name, but really it's all of the different profiles. When I say that, it could be anything from SlideShare to Twitter. If I can find my delete key here, it doesn't really matter what it is. See all these different things, and then when we're going to kind of manufacture some interest from Google, what we're going to do is on this side of things over here, we're gonna go to Fiverr and we're going to actually build in bookmarks, likes, and so on. Now, the thing I showed you before, let me just bring it up just so you can see this visually, what I was talking about as it relates to this particular slide. So see that the managed site has the Facebook like and the Google Plus, and then the blog roll with the links to the social profiles. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a relationship between this keyword targeted website and then all the social profiles that I've created. Um, it's really strange. Google is constantly changing. Sometimes the managed site will rank higher. Oftentimes these social profiles will rank higher. It just depends on exactly what Google is seeing, but the relationship between all of these is what's important. On this side of things, so we want social bookmarks, and we want likes and Google Pluses. Now I told you that that we can also do backlinks. Most of the links that you're going to be building are actually going to be made. I don't know why it does this little cool thing here, but are actually going to be made when you actually create these, right? Because you're actually going to put some mention of this website or the actual original company website. You might actually link out to the corporate website. So if they've got Billy Bob's Chicken or whatever, um, that might actually be over here. I might have spelled corporate wrong, but you guys know what I mean. So what you're doing is creating a relationship. Now, if you want to build links, so let's say you hired somebody to do a SENuke campaign or actually manually build backlinks or something like that, never ever, I'll change the color here. Never ever do it to this one. Okay, you don't put links here. You can put links here. That's okay. Okay, you can build backlinks here, but don't build backlinks here. If you do, what's going to happen is it's just gonna hurt you, not help you. Okay, does that make sense? Now, I don't know if that answered any questions, but go ahead and tell me what the other questions are, and I'll go backwards here.
Sure, sure. So Karen is asking, what could you put on the page? Let's say you've got a dentist client or a plastic surgeon. What could you put on their Facebook page daily? What kind of tips could you put there that would engage their followers in the social way?
Um, the strategy we use is actually one that's well known that by people that follow Dan Kennedy and many of the strategies he teaches for newsletter marketing, which is you want it to be um, 80 to 90% content and then only 10 to 20% um, business or call to action oriented. So 80 to 90% of it should just be news about taking care of your teeth or maybe an event. Like if it's Thanksgiving, then you say Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And then 1 in 10, or maybe one a week of the posts is come in this Friday for a free teeth cleaning or whatever. So you really want to make, in order for it to be engaging, you want it to be just like a social environment, right? So you want it to be more like what's happening in the community. The more personal interaction you can create through the social profile, the better off you are. um, I'll try and find you some really good examples, local examples. You could go to facebook.com/local pulse marketing, which is my company's website, and you can see kind of what we try to do. We kind of try to splash in some local news, some things that are happening, and then occasionally we'll throw in some sort of an offer. Usually, in our case, what we're throwing out is, "Hey, we've got a webinar coming. Please, join us to learn about social media marketing," or something like that.
Wow. Hey, James says that he wants to give us encouragement. He says, I've noticed real content webinars are disappearing, so all I get these days are sales webinars with almost no content or real teaching slash info of value unless you buy the product. He says, thank you, I needed this.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Yeah, James, thank you for telling us that. Um, Carly has some suggestions, it looks like, to what you can post on your client's Facebook. She says FAQs, possibly answered, or maybe even video tips. So create a video of yourself answering some stuff, or of your clients answering some stuff, and link back to the video using these daily tips, right?
Right, totally.
Okay. Karen says, what about posting community info, like what's happening with a local football team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys have got it spot on. I mean, that's what people want. I mean, that's what you would want, right? I mean, if you were to go to your dentist's Facebook page, wouldn't you like to see that they're supporting the, high school football team and that they're sponsoring the kids soccer team, and this is kind of a twofold conversation because number one, that's the content that people want to see and should be doing, and that's what you should be advising your local clients to do. That's what's so awesome about social media. But at the same time, it's very time consuming, and hence the reason you should be getting paid to help them with it, right? Because it can be work intensive. And so, therefore, you should be getting paid for it. And it's difficult in some cases for them to justify the value of it. What's cool about it, what's good about it, is that most of them know they need to do it.
Right. Um, okay, we've got some backlinking questions here. Clay asks, does the rep scanner strategy talk about why you backlink to social sites versus a company name?
Well, the companyname.com is a site that you created for um, your customers. So, like my example was ScottsdaleArtFactoryReviews.org. The reason I don't do that is because it looks too manufactured. Google actually, in my experience, is particularly recently, will give more leniency towards backlinking to social profiles because they're on big giant authority sites. It's kind of the old sandboxing issue. Used to be back in the day, you could go create, uh, Nike running shoes reviews.com, throw some minimal content on the website, throw a million backlinks at it from some automated software like SE Nuke, and then rank on the first page within a month or something and start selling shoes through Amazon. That's not the case. They know that people are doing that. They're wise to that. So you want to avoid manufacturing links to your managed sites because all it's really going to do is hurt you. What you'll notice, like I said before, this site is ranking in the top 10 for their company name, and all it has is a little bit of content. It's duplicate content taken directly from their website, a YouTube video they already had created, a couple of the reviews that I pulled from their Yelp profile or something, I forget which, and then links at the very bottom to different social media sites that I created for them. Actually, I didn't create the Pinterest one; that one was already in existence. So it didn't do anything other than give kind of this semi-relevant connection to the company. It's almost like you have to be it's almost like you're dating the search engines now. You just can't come out and say, like the analogy you use, Costas, hey, will you marry me? Let's sleep together. You got to be kind of like courting the engine and say, look how we're kind of connected to each other and how this might be of relevance instead of just coming right out and saying, you know, backlink keyword to backlink website, rank me on number one. Thank you very much. It's not as direct as it used to be,
Right.
if that even makes sense.
Okay, let's see. Any other questions, guys? I know there are plenty of questions here that I've missed because you've asked them early on. Please just repeat them if you'd like. And Robert, there's a um, chat question that you might want to look at,
Okay.
just put through to you.
Okay. I'll look. Any other
As I'm looking
questions
here,
while I'm looking?
guys,
Um,
and and actually also, Robert, I texted you this on your phone.
okay. You're texting me?
I texted you,
I
yes.
don't do texting.
Okay, I'm scrolling up, guys. I'm looking at hundreds of chat messages here. Please just ask your question. Any questions that you guys have, please just ask right at the end here. That's why we're here. Karen, that's right, Karen. So Robert says, do you make more than one managed site by keyword?
Right. So, um, it depends on how aggressive you want to be, but yes, I've done that. I'm working with a mortgage company and I've created 5 managed sites, and as part of my experiment, I'm sorry, 6 managed sites. 3 of them are WordPress sites that are like, companyname.com, companyname.review.org, companynamecomplaints.org. And then I've also purchased some industry related terms like um, homeloancompanies.org and then I actually put the content on blogger.com and then redirected the domain name there. You can actually have a hosted domain name on Blogger. So I've done variations of that, and then like in the case of Scottsdale Art Factory, I've only done 2 sites, I think. So it depends on how competitive I think it is and how much work I want to put into it and how much they're paying me as well.
Right, that makes a lot of sense here. Um, Biggie has a pricing question here. She says she still doesn't know how to tell how much a business can afford. The kind of money that we talk about, like 5,000 a month, can that only be afforded by doctors and dentists?
Um,
Biggie,
Go ahead.
sorry, Robert. I'll just give Biggie some quick advice, and then I know it'd be valuable to hear your opinion as well. Biggie, the main strategy that I always teach, and that I know Robert is a big fan of, is that you never know who has um, you never know who has money, right? And because of that, what you have to do is have what we call a front end offer. So, in other words, ask them for a little bit of money, like a couple hundred, 500, 1,000, whatever it is that you're comfortable with for that first step. Because the truth is, you have no idea how many people are willing to give you 10,000 a month or will just stay at 500 bucks for one time or 1,000 bucks for one time. So the key is to have a really good front end offer that allows you to get into a relationship where you can show them your stuff, show them how valuable you are, and then once you give them a return on that, you're in an awesome position to charge 5,000, 10,000, even more, because you've already generated them a return on that initial investment, and now they trust you. So it's not like you're just coming up out of the blue with $10,000 a month. You will be surprised at how many people, once you take that strategy with, you'll find people who you never thought could ever afford you, um, be in that place where all of a sudden they want to give you thousands of dollars a month, and you would have never ever been able to guess that when you first met them. So, Robert, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
I was actually going to use my whiteboard here and illustrate kind of the front end. I don't know how many people understand the concept of front end and back end, but your the short thing is FE or front end. Excuse my handwriting. Front end. This would be your low price offer. So it might be like if I can figure out how to operate this. This might be as little as $250 a month. I can't write with a mouse. I'm sorry. $250, but you can hear me hopefully. $250 a month. So maybe you're doing reputation management for $250 a month. Um, but what we just taught you, or what we just talked about, is taking them down this path of understanding that social media, right, is is really something that requires more work and is more important. In fact, in my experience talking to business owners, they understand that social media is something they need to do. But the problem is they don't trust anybody because they've been hit with all of these, hey, we're going to rank you on Google type people and stuff like that. So what this front end offer right here is good for is for building trust and getting a paying client. The amount of money you're making is not as important on the front end as the fact that you've established a relationship and you are getting paid, right? So you might be getting paid a little bit here, but what is key is what happens right in the middle here, which is when you're first having your conversations, you have to let them know that you might be having this conversation about social with them later on, and that isn't cheap, right? That it's a greater amount of money. I love my handwriting; it's terrible. But this, well, I should say mouse writing. It's not handwriting. My mouse writing is a
Don't
greater amount
judge
of
Robert's
money.
handwriting, guys. This is the mouse, so don't assume
Yeah,
he has
I'm
bad handwriting.
I'm blaming it on this Logitech mouse. So so this right here combined with your original front end is where you get into the 3K, 5K, et cetera, et cetera. Right? The key to remember is that the more value that the business is receiving. So in other words, the more they're receiving from you, the more they trust you, the more they're going to be willing to pay. That's the key thing when it comes to charging more money.
Awesome. Okay. Um, John says something interesting. He says he always conducts an interview to find out their needs, and in that meeting, he asks what their media budget is or what they're currently spending on advertising. So John is doing like it's kind of an old school tested trick here where you ask a client what their budget is, not for you, but what their budget is on advertising in general. Like what kind of advertising do you spend money on? And then if you know they're spending $5,000 a month to the Yellow Book, then you know that they've probably got some money that they can spend on you if you can get in good with them too. So that's a nice little old school Zig Ziglar sales tip.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I've noticed a trend that is different now than when I started in like '08 and '09, and in the earlier years of online marketing for local businesses, you would ask them how much money they're spending on Yellow Pages. Well, anymore, you're actually going to find people that are spending money. They might still be spending money on Yellow Pages, but you might find people that are using some other local advertising agency. We've been able to successfully take away business from other SEO companies and such because they don't really bring any value add. They don't bring to them these concepts of setting up social profiles. They don't bring to them the concepts of, hey, you need to create interactivity on their Facebook pages. All they say is, hey, we got you on page one. Thanks. Give us a check and do it every month. And so they don't see as much value in that. So again, the more value you bring, the more you'll get paid. And you'll find quite honestly that there's more and more of these SEO companies that are really slim picking, or not slim pickings, easy pickings in terms of getting money from them. So you can say, how much are you spending on SEO today? How much are you spending on Yellow Pages today? If they say none, we've never done any advertising, then you're probably going to want to do something as simple as just setting up. You're going to want to do a one-time transaction, like just set up their social media profiles or something, because in my experience, if they're not already spending money on advertising, they're not as likely to continue to spend or even spend more on it. You're going to have to educate. You'll end up spending the whole time trying to justify it. So this is a good question from Carol, and it kind of gets into my next webinar, which is the Social Packs training. So that's actually going to be on Wednesday. So this is a kind of a separate training. So it's about charging for social, and it's step-by-step details. I call it Social Packs. So what I've done in my business is I've taken reputation management as a front end, but I've also created the social profile setups as a front end. So what happens if you run into a prospect or somebody who wants help online who doesn't have a reputation issue because maybe they've only been in business a few years or maybe they've done nothing online and they want to get started, but they're not sure how to get started. Well, that's where I typically will sell a social pack, and as I had priced it, but told you I priced it before, it's typically between $997 and $2,000, so $1,000 to $2,000 to do a social pack. We're going to do training on that on this Wednesday. Now, full
So that's the
disclosure,
day after tomorrow.
day after tomorrow. So full disclosure here, on that training, I do have a course that and some software that helps you do all this that I'll tell you about at the end. You are under no obligation to buy anything. What I will do and what you will get out of that webinar is step by step. What is a social pack? Who buys them? How do you make them? How much does it cost to get them made? And then how much do you sell them for? And what's the process for selling them. So I'll actually lay out exactly how to do it. You don't have to have any tools or software or training to understand that process, but I'll go to it into detail. Now, why is it important? It's important because if you want to, as I said before, make that transition from $300, $500 a month reputation client to $3,000, $5,000 a month social media client, you need to have that bridge. And that's kind of what we'll talk about on Wednesday. You're welcome to join us. This training that we went over today, which is just pure content, as you guys are well aware, will be made available in the Rep Scanner members area, so you can watch it over and over again. And we'll put that up within the next 24 hours. Hopefully today. I'd like to get it up today so that you can watch it soon. Was
Yeah,
there?
and we've also got people asking for the time. And correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but the time of that webinar is going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So
That's correct. That's correct.
yeah, so we scheduled it later in the evening because that way that's when most people tend to be free, even though you've got family obligations. You're not caught up at work. So we've got a lot of thank yous coming in.
That's awesome. I like
A
thank you.
lot of thank yous. Thank you, Biggie, Jason, Carol, Robert, Rick.
So
Um, Go ahead, Robert.
I was just going to say, if you had questions on this webinar that weren't answered, you can email support@repscanner.com, since you're all RepScanner members. And again, we'll post this up, and then we'll also you'll get an announcement about the Wednesday training, and we'll send out an email to remind you to be there. And most likely that'll be recorded. Again, I'll tell you about my social media program if you're interested in that. Of course, you're under no obligation to do anything there, but you will, I promise you will enjoy all the content that's provided, because it does go into step-by-step details.
Yeah, and I can speak for that too. The first time I heard the presentation, the training that Robert's going to be giving the day after tomorrow on Wednesday night, I heard personally. Well, Robert, I've been very familiar with you working this concept, but actually you presented it for the first time where I heard the whole thing in Vegas, where you spoke at our live event. So Robert got on stage and introduced everybody to the idea of what he's doing, and I have to say that the cool thing is that it blew everybody away because it's a very, usually in our world, we tend to be trained on results, kind of direct marketing oriented stuff. And that works really, really well to get a client. But Robert has done an awesome job coming up with like a fantastic high end, high perceived value service that he can get thousands on, where ongoing consulting is not a part of the deal. So Robert can just really get paid thousands of dollars one time by his clients, and he's come up with a great way to fulfill it and to make it all happen. And I was just really impressed that he was able to do it. It's like a high end boutique sort of offering that most people in our industry are just not doing, and Robert's found a way to make it work. So I'm
Yeah,
impressed with it.
I think the thing that you'll get the most value out of from the training also is I'll give you all the statistics about what's happening in the industry that backs up the reason why clients are willing to pay so much money for this really basic social stuff. So anyway, I think with that we'll end it. And thanks again for your time. We're at the 1 hour mark, and we'll get this recording up as soon as we can.
Awesome.